Hello and welcome to another episode of Athletics for Life podcast. We're your hosts, Jeff and CD, and we're just a couple of athletic directors in Mongolia who interview interesting people in the world of sports. Recently, we've been traveling through Asia interviewing athletic directors. In today's episode, we're going to take a break from that because one of our former guests has done something quite cool. And if you've listened to all of our shows, you might know who we're going to be talking to today. So Jeff, why don't you go ahead and introduce today's guest?
Yeah, so we normally talk a lot with ADs, PE teachers, or interesting people in the world of sports, but we don't, if we have an opportunity to interview an alumni, we do it, because I think it's very valuable to hear from them, the lessons they've learned from our programs, how they're doing, to stay connected. A while ago, we had two guys from down under, from Australia and New Zealand on the podcast, Jonte and Morris. And we have Jonte back on our podcast today. Jonte got heavily involved in Ironman and triathlons, and he finished his Ironman, and now he's working on finishing his second one, a half Ironman. And we want to pick his brains a little bit about his training process, the lessons learned from the previous process, and his goals, how he's doing. So it's great to have him back on the podcast. The first guest is coming back on the podcast, actually, so which is really cool. We're very happy to have Jonte Grose on the podcast today from Australia. So we hope you enjoy our alumni podcast today.
Yeah, enjoy.
All right. Well, we're back with our first repeat guest on the podcast. You guys, if you've been listening for a while, you might recognize Jonte. Way back when you were training for an Ironman, Jonte, and that's what we're hoping to talk to you about today. But before we jump into it, do you want to just tell a little bit about yourself, where you're at, and where you came from?
So I'm originally from New Zealand, then I moved to Australia, then came over to Mongolia at ISU in 2017. I was in Mongolia from grade 10, and graduated in Mongolia as well. But that was during COVID, so it was like an online graduation and stuff like that. And then now I'm back in Perth, and I'm studying in Perth at the University of Western Australia. And yeah, that's what I'm doing with my life at the moment, working as a bartender as well, which is pretty fun. And yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Man. Yeah, awesome, Jonte. It's great to see you again. And it's always good to catch up with former alumni. And you're the first guest that comes on for the second time.
Yeah, well,
so
I'm honored.
That's a winner. That's a winner.
Yeah.
Jonte, can you check? Why do we have you on today? Is that because you finished your Ironman? You were talking about that the last time we had you on with Morris, and that you were training for that. Can you talk a little bit about why you did it and the day itself, and just in general about the whole experience?
Yeah, so it started off with it was actually Run for Water. So we did the Run for Water, and I was water boy, and I was like, they're running 10 kilometers, and I was like, far out. I don't think I could do that. Like, I just could not do that at all. But I kind of felt a little bit because I'd done like a weight loss journey, and I was still losing a bit of weight, and I was like, I could not do that. But then I felt lazy just handing out water. So I was like, oh, let me try get into it. So I started running in Mongolia, and then I did a 15K run when I was on holiday in Los Angeles. So I signed, like when I was going over there, I signed up. I was like, oh, let me just sign up, give me something to train for. Did that. And then I came over back to Perth, and I was like, I was really bored. I'm really bored. And because I enjoy playing basketball and all that stuff. I remember it was Mr. Sanchez who told me, once you get out of high school and you're not doing your team sports, it's a little bit hard to find out what you want to do with sports, because you kind of don't have your camaraderie and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm not the best at swimming. I'm not the best at running. I didn't even have a bike. And I was like, let me just sign up for the Ironman. So it was only a half Ironman, but it was still pretty decent. So I signed up for it. It was a pretty hefty price to sign up for it. So it kind of made me have to do it. It was something like $500. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm losing that. So it was kind of like in the back of my mind whenever I was training, I was like, got to make $500 like worthwhile. And then, and I started training for it. Took me it was about 7 months or 6 months that I did training. And yeah, after the training day came along, 5th of December, and it was such a cool atmosphere. It was insane. I had one of my close mates do it with me as well. I dragged him along, made him jump into it. And then, yeah, it was early morning, like 4:30 in the morning, went through transition, got everything set up, and then started to swim. And then it was under the Bustleton jetty. So in Bustleton in Perth, it's the longest jetty in the Southern Hemisphere. And it was cool. Like you go like 400 meters and cut under, swim, and then come back. Then jumped on the bike, which was 90K. And then after the bike, got in and started running. And that's where I had my first problem. So like my swim was okay. Like I beat my time that I wanted for it. Ride was really good, felt super strong in that. And then started running. And at the 10K mark is when I had some real problems. Started cramping in my legs, like real bad cramps. Just ran through it. And then at the 18K mark, it was like, I felt like forever. You're running along the foreshore on this brand new bitumen ground. So it was black in the heat. And it just felt you're running forever. And I turned the corner and then I started cramping, like my calves went real bad. And I was just hobbling. And I was like, I just need to beat my goal time of 6 hours. I was like hobbling. And then I was just so in my mindset of finishing that like this each step kind of like just went each step by each step. And I was turning into the finisher's chute. And my mate had just finished 3 minutes before me. And he was like, come on, Jonte. And like it clicked me out of the zone. I looked up at him and I was like, oh, and my hamstring nearly went. And I just hobbled my way down the finisher's chute and did in time. But yeah, it was a good experience.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's a great accomplishment, Jonte. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you feel like your training prepared you, or do you feel like you could have done anything different leading up to it? If so, what would you have changed?
There was heaps I could have done differently. Yeah. Like I learned so much throughout it, like consistency as well. So now that I've finished it, I was happy with my results, but I want to do better for next time. And like the way that I can do that just by consistency as well. So like the swims and the runs, and there'd be some days I couldn't be bothered doing that workout set, so I'd kind of ease off and stuff like that. And it is good in moderation, but when you kind of, I don't know, you slack off a little bit, it kind of slows your progress down. And I had a bit of an injury I had like problems with my IT band as well on my left knee. So I'd running over like 5K got me really, really sore. So I did a bit of rehab with physio and stuff like that. And then started like building my strength up. So the furthest I'd ran before the Ironman was like 11K. So there's also like always room to improve with there, making sure I get enough. And that's why I think my run was so bad, because I was kind of not doing the correct amount of training that I just had to work with what I had. But yeah, I reckon definitely just consistency. If I'm able to stay consistent with my next training plans that I start, then it should be good. So yeah.
Awesome, man. That's great. Hey, Jonte, where did you get all your information from for your training? And looking ahead, you must have some new goal. What kind of training information do you get? Do you work with a coach, or do you research yourself? Where do you get it from?
So my girlfriend Mikili, her dad does them. So it's kind of it was pretty decent being able to talk with him and find someone who has the same interest, and they've done it for years. So like finding someone who has the interest or the knowledge that they can hand down to you, which is pretty good. Also YouTube, like there's so much information on YouTube, and especially spending time in isolation or in lockdown and stuff like that. I just get YouTube up on the thing and you can write down some notes, or you can kind of see what other people are doing and how it works. And they just give you those small little tips that really do help you. And then I also have a program called Trainer Road, which you pay for a yearly subscription. You put in your times you want, and it just gives you kind of like your workouts you have for the week and stuff like that. And that really helped me as well to stay on track with my swimming, running, and also make sure that you do, for example, just say you do a really heavy bike set one day, and then you do a run afterwards. You do a hard bike and then get onto the run. Then the next day will be a hard swim, but the day after that will be a recovery ride, like a recovery run. So I think realizing that recovery is a big emphasis on what you want to do. That's what I learned as well, because when I used to run in Mongolia, I'd just be doing like 12, 15K as hard as I could. And it made me super, super fit, but it also was tiring. I was mentally tired and stuff like that. But learning how to you have a rest day, you really do rest. Like you enjoy it. You lie on the couch, anything like stuff like that. Like you really do rest. That's kind of what I learned from the months of like training as well, but just through like the YouTube and then also implementing it into my next one. So I have a Sunshine Coast 70.3 Ironman in September, which I am doing. And my goal for that is either that one or I'm doing Busselton again in December, is either a sub 5 hour. So my goal last time was a sub 6 hour and I got 5 hours 57. So I'm just trying to shave 57 minutes off my time, which I think is doable. I didn't think I'd be able to finish a 70.3 and I did it. So I'm like, oh, why not give it a shot? And yeah, so that's what I'm aiming for now.
What's your plan to get to shave off 57 minutes? Which one are you going to attack? Is it swim, bike, run, transitioning?
If I'm able to shave off, I was actually pretty happy with my transitions. I thought it was going to be really long. The only problem I had was putting on my socks on coming from the swim. I had a towel, but it was so wet. I was like ripping my things up. But then second transition was fine. It's the swim. It was like a 41 minute. I want to shave 6 minutes off my swim. And luckily, like Michaela's living with me now and she's a really good swimmer. So she's going to be my little swim coach. So she'll come down with me to the pools and she'll be challenging me. She'll be beating me by a little bit. At least I have someone to kind of race and push me in training. My bike, I want to get to something like a 2 hour 20 or something like that. So that'll just be making sure that I'm consistent on the bike over time, putting in like the long hours and the hard time. Like the only way you can get good on the bike is by hours on the bike. So I just have to make sure I spend a lot more time on that. And then the run, I'm going to break it down into three things. So I have heart rate training for my longer runs, like endurance running. Then I'll have my tempo running. So around the track, like the running track, I'll do like 10 repeats of 400s or 5 800s and stuff like that, just to get my heart rate up, my body used to running fast. And that way you can implement into getting that VO2 and your fitness up. So then that way when I'm doing my longer runs, my heart rate will stay lower at a faster pace. And then just over time, then I'm hoping to then get like I think I ran a 2 hour 17 21K. So I'm not 100% happy with that. But my last 3K were like 7-minute 15 kilometers. So if I can stay healthy and strong throughout the run, I believe I can take off time each time and then I'll be close to my goal. So yeah.
Amazing listening. It's amazing listening to you, Jonte, because a little bit, if we go back to the previous podcast, and I know you longer than today, you talked a little bit about your weight loss journey. And then I remember the first year you didn't play any sports here because you said, well, I'm focused on academics, right?
Yeah.
Then you started playing basketball. How has that whole journey helped you now in the triathlon world, like playing basketball and getting slowly into that?
I think it was confidence with all of it. Like moving to a different country, I was a little bit scared. Like all these different things were all there. But then I kind of like went to I pushed out of the comfort zone with morning trainings with basketball or traveling to different countries with basketball, like all that stuff. So I think it kind of increased my confidence. And then seeing yourself get fitter as well over time. Like you don't notice it, but then you do, like you'll be able to play a full basketball game. And I was like, oh, I'll give soccer a go. So I decided to play a bit of soccer or football. And that made me feel a lot more fit as well, a bit more confident with running. And then it was kind of just that it's just building up on each other every single time. So like it didn't happen in a week or two. It was just like, oh, new basketball season, new soccer season, new this. And over time you kind of see yourself being fitter and you can kind of create newer goals. And I wasn't always the person that I think I can do it. But then I also, like, I've been pretty happy because I've been able to just say, why not give it a shot? Like you, especially with the Ironman, like with basketball, there's tryouts and stuff like that. It's a little bit like you'll make it or you won't, or like you'll win the game, you won't. And although it's not always about that, it's kind of always in the back of your mind. Like like the pressure, there's a bit of pressure there. But when it comes to like individual sports like triathlon, the only person that you're actually racing against is yourself, unless you're a pro. So I think like being able to have that pressure when you had like basketball and stuff like that, but now really realizing I have no pressure on myself except becoming the better version of myself is like kind of what's pushed me into kind of just enjoying it. And yeah, and it's taught me that there will be pressure, like you feel the nerves on like the day of the Ironman and stuff like that, but then you kind of realize like the guy just passed me, that's him doing that. Like he's not gonna, at the end of the race, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm so annoyed that that guy beat me, because it's all about your individual time. So yeah, that's what I think I've learned. It's just the pressure is all on you, yourself, not other people. Yeah.
I had a coach at a camp that I went to when I was a kid. It was a wrestling camp, and it was we'd do like 4 workouts a day as an intensive training camp, and it was just grueling. And we did a lot of similar stuff. You know, not to the extremes of an Ironman or training for a marathon or anything like that. But I remember there was one coach, and he was just like a really hard dude. And he's like, I hate running, but I run like 10, 15, 20 kilometers a day, every day without fail. He's like, I hate it. It's the worst thing. And he's like, but I approach running as, it's time that I get to learn about myself. Right. And you get to learn like what you're made of, who you are. And it's one of those times that you just, you're alone with your thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, and so I've been a runner almost my whole life. That was my main sport before wrestling and way before basketball coaching. I was a cross country runner, and so I definitely resonated with that. It's like, it is time where it's just you. And yeah, you want to win and you want to beat the guy. And there's that little bit of competitiveness when there's somebody close to you. But, at the end of the race, you don't remember, that guy passed me at mile 2 or kilometer 2 in the 90K bike. It's just giving you that little motivation in the moment. So it's totally true. It's just all about you and your progress. I'm curious though, how was it after the event? How was the camaraderie between, people that had finished and stuff? Because I've done a few marathons and a few kind of sprint triathlons, and it's always, in the States at least, it's always been like a really cool experience, and people hang out and you're just chatting about training or about where you're from. How was it for you?
It was actually honestly awesome. Like that, like the community was just amazing. So, because it's like a weekend thing. So you get there Friday, and then you check in. And so everyone's like, I was the first timer. So when I checked in, everyone's like, they all scream, first timer, woo, and like all that stuff. And it makes you feel like really special. I'm like, yeah, I'm a first timer, of course, yeah. And then like you go to the next day and you put on your bike, and they're like, oh, good luck, like all this stuff. And then along the run section, it was really hot, and people, their homes were like looking onto the running course. So there were people there with ice, throwing ice on us and spraying us with their hose and stuff like that. And everyone was really into it. And I think it was kilometer 10, I ran up to a lady and I just started talking to her, and her and I paced each other for like 5K, 6K. And we're just talking about it. Like, oh yeah, what do you do? How long have you been training? This sucks, doesn't it? This is really not fun. Stuff like that. And we're just like, oh, this isn't that great, but it's fun. And then I left her. She was like, oh, you're running a bit too fast. I'll see you later on at the end of the track. And I was like, yeah, no worries. And then at the end of it, when I the last 3K, I started getting my cramps and I slowed down. And she ran past me and she was like, come on, Jonte, you've got this. And it gave me that bit of motivation. I was like, oh, sweet. Like, because I knew someone, and then I finished it. And I kind of just like collapsed at the end of the finish line. Like the lady held my arm. She's like, good job, put the towel around me. And then like in the finishers tent, like where you can kind of like get all your food, nutrition and stuff like that, everyone was like handshaking everyone, saying good job, and all the volunteers were just around you. And it was just such an awesome feeling, like everyone being there. And even though they don't even know you, they're still supporting you because they know that what their family member or what they've been through has been something crazy. So yeah, it was just an awesome feeling of everyone suffered, but everyone enjoyed it at the same time. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
Awesome, Jonte. I'm wondering, so you went from no sports to team sports to triathlon. Why not something else? Because I know you love rugby, or maybe some martial arts, or why? What was it with triathlon that really caught your attention, and why you keep doing it?
I think I had influence from other people as well, like seeing like different people doing these ultra marathons, or like my girlfriend's dad doing them, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds like I'd watch videos of people suffering, and I'm like, oh, that actually kind of like cool to say I've done that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it feels like to suffer like that, so I think I just kind of dove head first. And but yeah, I have tried other things as well, like with rugby and stuff. I'm not really good enough for it, to be honest. Like everyone, like people will spend their whole years playing it, so then they get to university and they're just like, oh, I'll just keep playing it, and they've been playing for years. But when you come back into it, it's a bit harder. So I was like, why not just do something where I can keep improving daily with myself? And then I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I was doing some of that, but then the season came back for triathlon, and I was like, I'd much rather beat my goal for that. So I'll put that on hold till the end of the start of next year. And yeah, so triathlon, I think it was just the fact that it's not just one thing. Like I can kind of get good at running, I can get good at swimming, I can get good at riding, and it's also something that I've never done before. So I was like, why not give it a go? And then after I finished it, I was so sore, but I was like, oh, I could go faster. Like your brain started ticking over, like, oh, if I'd done this better, I would have been a bit faster. If I'd done this better, I would have been faster. And see my mate who finished like 3 or 4 minutes ahead of me, and I always looked at him as one of the fittest people I've ever met. To only beat me by 4 minutes, it kind of gave me a fire. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to beat him on the next time. So even if he's not doing it with me, I still beat his time, and I'll be like, look, see, I beat you on your time. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I remember like just talking about, running these long events and having somebody beat you and that being your fire. The last marathon that I did, I ran with my wrestling coach and a couple of wrestlers. My wrestling coach was a big guy, big, heavy guy. You wouldn't look at him and think like, oh yeah, he's a runner at all,
Yeah.
And I had the same thing happen to me that happened to you, where like I ran, I think it was like mile 16 or something. My body just started like shutting down, and just like you're just like, this sucks. It hurts to walk. It hurts to run. Everything hurts. And he caught me with like 3 miles left, and we ended up finishing together. We looked sad and just walking and limping, and he was like, oh yeah, you can just run ahead. It's fine. I was like, no, dude, like I'm in so much pain. Like let's just hobble together. And it was cool. It was a cool moment. We finished together. But the way the marathon worked was they started the time when the chip in your shoe crossed the start line. And so because I was much more fit and like hyped up, I crossed the start line about 30 seconds before he did. So my time ended up being 30 seconds slower than him, because we finished at the exact same time. And so since that's the last marathon either of us have done, he just rubs it in every time, like, oh, I got you by 30 seconds,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good though to light that fire under you and keep you with a goal, right? To just something to beat. What else is on the future for you, Jonte? What you've got a few Ironmans coming up. Anything else that you're looking forward to and training for?
I've got so I start training on the 28th. That's when my plan's set for. So I've got, like the past 2 weeks I've been at the gym, just working on strengthening like the legs and core and stability and just overall strength. And then I've got 27th of March, I have a sprint triathlon, which is just a 750 meter swim, 20K bike, 5K run. Just to see, and I think it'll be good just to see how my training in a month has gone, see how I feel afterwards. And also to get another medal. It just looks cool having a medal, to be honest. And then I've got the big break in between that, and I'll be training then. And then September 11th. So yeah, September 11th, I'll have my Ironman 70.3 in Sunshine Coast. So I'll fly over from Perth to Sunshine Coast, and then I'll do the Bustleton in December. So if I don't reach my goal in Sunshine Coast, then I'll have 2 months to train for it again, and then December I'll finish it there. So yeah.
Cool, man. That's awesome. I find it very cool listening to Jonte, because it's I see a passion and you found something that you really enjoy doing. It's very cool. We always tell our student athletes here, like, you don't have to continue playing basketball. Find something that we teach you skills,
Yeah.
right? And you apply those right now.
Mm.
That's so cool. And you saying like doing things that you don't like doing. Well, I hate running too, but it's good for you. So you just got to suck it up sometimes, right? And don't give up.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Jonte, so with your training, with your studies, with McKeely, your girlfriend, with bartending, how do you balance everything? How do you do that?
Look, I'm honestly not the most the best person for doing all that stuff. Like, for example, when was it? Monday, I went to the dentist and I went in to get my teeth done. They're like, "Oh, your appointment's tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." So I'm not the best with getting all my stuff on the calendar, but I'm working on it. It's always something you can improve on. But when it came to kind of all that stuff, Trainer Road, like my plan really helped me. Luckily, as a bartender, I work mostly nights. So what I do is I'd have uni, I don't know, just say, because I went to uni like 4 days a week and I'd only have like 2 classes in that day. So what I do is I'd go, if it was like an early class, I'd go to uni, finish that, take my swim clothes with me and go for a swim afterwards, like on the way home. Or if I was doing a long bike set, if I had at uni in the Arvo, I'd do a bike set before and go to uni. Most of my hours from work also come to the weekends as well. So I'd work like just say I don't know, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. or something like that. So I'd have all morning, all day to kind of study, do a run or whatever. And then, so I just do that. So it's kind of just like figuring out what times I have, what times I don't, and I'd fit my training around my life. And instead of fitting my life around the training, I'd focus on my life and what I enjoy doing. And then whenever I have time, I'll make sure I have time, but I won't have that as my main thing. But I think that now that I saw that I want to beat it by an hour, I think I'm going to change that. So I'll be structured in, this is when I'm going to be training. This is when I'm going to be studying. Just so then that way every day I know what I'm doing and I'm able to stay on track with it as well. Because I think I got a little bit lazy. I'm tired from uni. I don't want to go for a swim, or I'm tired from work. I don't want to do that. And everyone has it, you know what I mean? But it's just something that I'm going to try and be a little bit better at this time and kind of manage a bit more. But yeah, it was the one thing I learned is if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. So I didn't want to push myself into doing it. And I'll be like a week later, fizzle out and just be like, this isn't what I want to do. So if I was able to kind of put everything just organized well-oiled machine is what it was like. It was like a good car, but the interior was dirty. So yeah, it didn't look the greatest, but it worked for me. And I think you just have to find what works best for you when it comes to what you're trying to do. Because if you kind of make time for, or you see these pros and they're training 20 hours a week, I'm not able to do that. So you kind of just fix and figure out what you can do and see it from there.
That's awesome, Jonte. Yeah, like Mr. Cope said, it's as a PE teacher and as a coach, like that's exactly what we hope for, right? Like just carry on some of the things that you learned and find something you're passionate about and like apply it, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be what you were coached in. And it's just really cool to see you doing that and how like reflective you are on what went well, what didn't go well. And like for me, I think that's one of the biggest keys to success as an athlete or in a job is just being able to take a moment and like look back and see like, okay, this is what I did and this is where it worked, this is where it didn't work. And I need to change this to get better results the next time. And, even when you just went through and were like, I can shave 6 minutes off my swim and I can shave this much time off my bike and I can shave this much time off my run. Like you can tell, like you've thought about it and you've structured, okay, this is what I can accomplish. And kind of broken it apart. That's really cool to see. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck and have some fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jonte, it's so cool. I loved when you talked about, scheduling your sports around your life. And that's some mistakes that some of us made, that sports become everything and your life is not existing anymore. And it happens with work too, right? Work becomes everything. So that's very, very mature of you. And like Mr. CD said, that you're what you're doing. But also when you said about suffering, when that becomes enjoyable, that's dangerous, man. You become very successful. When you can grind and get through that, then you can do anything, man. And just this is your way of learning that. And now when it gets tough at uni or at work, you can grind it through because you've done it in your triathlons, right? So it's great chatting with you, and it's inspirational for everyone. And I really seen where you're coming from. So like I always said, if I can do it, if you can do it, anyone can do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you saw the photo of me when I first came to Mongolia, and you said that man's he's going to be doing half Ironmans, you just laugh in my face. But I think it's kind of just day by day, and then you'll see. Like
exactly,
my thing that I kind of go by is like, you're still going to have tomorrow, and like, so you're still going to have next week. Like this week is still going to come by, so you might as well just do stuff in that week that kind of that you feel happier with. Like you, for example, like with uni, like people like decide to start uni later or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be 24 when I finish, but you're still going to be 24. So it's better to have something. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of do with training. Like, well, next Monday is still going to come, but I might as well be fitter next Monday than I am now. So it's kind of just something that you just do every day, and just go piece by piece.
Exactly. You were saying about consistency, right? And, time and patience are so important in anything you're doing. And if you just go day by day, every day you might fail, but one day you will have it, you will pass it, or you have that race, you finish. So that's great, Jonte. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. You too, sir. Thank you.
No worries. And we're happy to have you on. And let us know when you finish another race, man.
Yeah, no worries. Well, the March 27th one is next. So I'll make sure I get some photos of that, and I'll send them through to you guys. And yeah,
that'd be perfect. Best of luck, man.
Best of luck, Jonte.
The sprint ones are super fun. So
thank you.
So hi to everyone over there, and we'll catch up soon. Of course, Thank you so much, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
We'll see you.
See you, Jonte. Bye-bye.
All right, we just wrapped up our interview with Jonte. Some of the things that stood out to me in our talk with Jonte was just how, he originally wasn't very athletic. He didn't consider himself super athletic, and then now he's gotten into like kind of extreme athletics, right? He's taking on Ironmans and long distance running, intense swimming, biking, and just the training that goes along with that, and kind of loving that journey, that sense of constantly bettering yourself and challenging yourself. And that's great to see, and that's what we really strive for our kids. Maybe not to the extremes of an Ironman, but just taking the things you've learned in our programs and then staying physically active after you graduate, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, we want the kids to be introduced to sports if they haven't been already, and then just find something that they enjoy. Doesn't matter what it is, right? So it could be Ironmans, pretty extreme, but, or jiu-jitsu, judo, running, or whatever, or even playing intramural sports in college or whatever, or playing club football back in Europe or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's connected to health, well-being, and to have a balanced lifestyle. So it was great to see Jonte again. He looks great, dedicated, and it's very interesting to see sometimes that these people they catch that bug of working out, of being better, and that will transfer into the rest of his life, into school, into his work later on, into his career life, whatever it is. So we're very pleased that he was able to share the things that he's doing right now with us, and we will stay connected, and we might have him on the podcast next year, see how he's doing.
Yeah. See if he's keeping up with his training, and if his times have gotten any faster, if he's been able to reach those goals.
Yeah, and he's gonna do a full Ironman in the future. I'm bet on that. So it's great to have him on.
Definitely. For anyone listening or watching us, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing from you. All the best, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.